Grandfather forced us to live on the edge. He said he needed the space for hunting, to feel the hunger in the stomach that could not be filled with venison, roots, or any other kind of sustenance. We would bargain and toil, but he would never relent. Days would pass without notice of his departure or his arrival. The wilderness would claim him, and he'd return to us under new furs, tugging along meats and bones after so many moonless nights. He told us, "We cannot separate our natures from those of our ancestors, my son. By joining ours to the predators we descend from, then we sever the line of modernity and can join ourselves with our original purpose. Those of oil and fetid blight will rot and waste in their steel cities, whereas I will become something more, perhaps a foundation for potatoes."
He'd never mentioned the green now. Our house was painted in it, languished in it, suffered in it. In the forest of ever-changing leaves, our home maintained the same simple shade. In my youth I did not understand the curiosity of such a thing. I took it as it was, not how it was meant to be. But had I looked further, asked more questions, maybe I would have understood this color green as my first experience into what could be.
The subtle, quiet death of noise and bustle stalked the house after grandfather's death. A boy could only handle so many seasons in silence, so eventually I pushed my fears of the darkness aside and headed south, abandoning the maddening quiet I knew in search of something better. Under the tutelage of my grandfather, I had danced enough with bullet and oil to defend myself. Nothing so elegant as the marksmanship he hunted with, but if a bear came upon me, I would hold my own. If only I had known. The zone, in all its infamous bluster and retold glory, never had proper markings. The divide between what was inside and outside lacked any intricate danger or warning sign. I passed into it with no notice. Wandering through fickle plants and overgrown ruins, no warning would have sufficed. Any sign or scroll I couldn't have dissuaded the young man with the power of death in his hands and a foolish heart, beating for adventure. It didn't creep into my bones until late in the first evening. Mother Earth had her melody at night, shrieking bugs, rustling predators chasing down prey, the soft billow of wind pushing through otherwise still trees. These were all sounds known to me, comforting even. Maybe some of the more spoiled boys and girls in the city's grandfather hated so much would cower, but I had been told not to suffer the darkness. It was home. The zone was not. Unnatural breaks in the nighttime chorus would wake me. Fast, sudden. The crickets would silence themselves, hidden in the brush. I lowered the rifle to my chest between shaking hands and slowed down my breath, listening. Most of the time it was nothing. Just wind in what would otherwise be a normal night sky. But there were times I was grateful for the steady hug of a weapon. Lights pulsating in the distance, rising out of the ground like a miniature sun. Once I passed a naked woman, singing in the twilight hours of the day. As I approached, she melted away, flesh bubbling into a goo of skin and muscle until only bone remained against the shadow of what was. My curiosity became horror when I realized I could still hear the notes of music creeping from her skull. Safety was a scarcity, even among things I did understand. I was warned to be wary of those pursuing riches in the zone. Greed turns men into husks, or maybe it unleashes the rotten parts of our souls. But when I heard voices, the first notes of casual laughter I had not tasted in years, curiosity rose in me. I was a starved man, deprived of any kind of humanity. I was still cautious, so I peered through the bushes, careful not to make any noise. A half-dozen armor-clad soldiers walked the large roads I had avoided for so long, confident in the weapons hanging around their shoulders and the knowledge of the zone. I longed for the inner peace they must have, the bravery. I did not want for long. Something broke the foliage near me, angry, huge, leaving behind the vile smell of gangrene and death in its wake. To their credit, the group of soldiers readied themselves fast and with great discipline, but it did not matter. The behemoths shattered the tree line, knocking over great oaks older than the last 3 generations of my bloodline, screaming all the while. The hail of bullets that rained down into the thing failed to make any change. It tore the humanity I had witnessed into bits, leaving behind viscera and bone. After it was done, it looked around, back into the forest, back into the trees, back at me. It is not hard to say I ran from such a thing. What man wouldn't?